You've tuned in to Arm and a Leg and Other Opinions We Like to Give, a weekly podcast hosted by two veterans dedicated to politics, current events, interviews, and anything else they want to mention, but probably shouldn't. So without further ado, here are your hosts, Robbie the Dream Gaupp and Brett Miracle Man Parks.
Hey! Hello, and thank you so much for tuning in to another Arm and a Leg and Other Opinions We Like to Give podcast. I am Brett Parks.
And this is your boy, Robbie Gaupp.
Oh, man, we have a really busy podcast today, so we want to get on it real quick. First of all, before we start, Robbie, how's your week been?
It's been great. My son turned 1 on Sunday. We had a big celebration for him.
That's right.
He's growing really big. I can't wait for the world to see what's to come in the future for this little boy. Wow,
good grief. He's huge too, man.
Huge.
I can't believe it's been a year. Like, it seems like yesterday he was born. Unreal.
It does. It's unreal. He's 36 pounds, walking, has like 10 teeth. Like, he's a beast.
He is. He's going to be driving next week, I'm sure. So my kids are good. Everything's all right. I'm just getting back to the routine. I love that it's school started. So now I have my routine going again, and I'm happy. All's well in the world.
I seen the other day on Facebook that you caught a snapper.
I actually caught a few. It was actually a redfish, and it's I guess it's in the drum family, and it's like real big kind of fish here up in Jacksonville, up North Atlantic, and in Florida, not North Atlantic, like in Maine, North Atlantic in Florida. And a lot of people, I posted on Facebook, a lot of people are like, oh, no, it's too small, FWC is going to get you and stuff like that. Well, in Florida, my region, the redfish has to be between 18 and 24 inches. And I just hit the mark. He was just 18 inches.
Did you eat him?
So, yeah. Oh, yeah. I took him home. I ate him. I'm horrible. I'm horrible at filleting, though. I'm like one of the worst fish filleters ever. I'm outside. It's 95 degrees outside, and I have my truck bed down, my tailgate, and I'm there cutting the fish open. It looks like a murder scene. But I'm getting better. So, but I enjoy it. It's like fishing's my new thing, man.
Yeah, watch some YouTube videos on it. They show you how to fillet really good.
Dude, that's what I've been doing. I have my cell phone right up there on the fish, and I'm watching it, and I'm pausing it, and I'm trying it, and I'm playing it again. So yeah, I got to get better. I just have
in due time.
Yeah. So this week we have. Sorry, I just had a phone call. This week yesterday I asked people what they want us to mention on this podcast, and I got three really good responses. And so these are pretty much subjects that people want us to talk about this week, and a lot of these, two of them we could really spend all day talking about it, but we're just gonna skim through it, and we'll get in there a little bit later. Number one is Richard Hill he said he wants us to talk about Miami LSU game coming up next week. Now, I was born and raised a Hurricane. I bleed orange and green. I love Miami. But this scares me. This particular game scares me because LSU is a scary team to play for us. I remember, I think it was in 2006, and Richard, you might remember this too. It was a Sugar Bowl, and we got smoked by LSU, completely smoked. And not only that, is we all went into the going towards the locker room. We got in a fight with the LSU players at the end of the game, and they put like 3 of us in the hospital. So that even made matters even worse. So I hate LSU. So I'm upset.
Well, I mean, it's going to be a big game for y'all because LSU, I mean, they're a speed team. So
it's going to be a good game. Now, the good news is I believe that the first and second string quarterback for LSU both quit just like last week.
Yeah, and y'all coming off a great season. So
great season.
With the great season y'all had this last season and playing, a speed team that their season was okay, but it's going to be a hard game because, 2 speed teams.
Right. Well, an SEC team's always a tough team to play, especially the first game of the season. I would have much rather like a tune-up game, like played the Mean Machine or something, and then played somebody big.
But the good thing is if you lose to them, it's at the beginning of the season, so you still have plenty of time to –
Yes, that is the good thing. That's the good thing. But hopefully they keep the kids, the players, motivated through the season.
For sure.
All right. Subject number 2, Kim DeBrito. And Kim, I think I'm saying your last name right. That's how it always is pronounced in my head. So Kim DeBrito said she wants us to talk about how people are getting pre-qualified for a mortgage but do not have any money saved for their closing costs, home inspections, and appraisals. Now, she's asking me this, and with a lot of research, I think I can figure it out. But I don't do the finances in my home. That's all my wife. She's the money guru. She knows all about mortgages and all this stuff. So I would be one of those guys, Kim, if it was up to me. What do you think it is, Robbie?
Well, I have a feeling that, a lot of these people nowadays, when they're getting pre-qualified, they're going for because you can run your credit like up to the whole month and not worry about it. But then not having the closing costs and not having that kind of stuff, I don't think people are, especially young people, are thinking about the finances that come after you get the house, like the closing costs and all those things. So while they're getting pre-qualified, in their mind, oh, I'm qualified for a house, at $300,000, they're not thinking about, $10,000 closing costs or $20,000 closing costs that goes with that. In their mind, they got pre-qualified and that's all they had to do. So.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. I think you're right. You hit the nail on the head.
I think one of the big problems that we could fix that with is in high schools right now, start building people for what's to come in the real world, and then financially they'll understand already.
That is the key. I think you hit it right out of the park there. We are not taught in schools anymore. We are not taught life lessons. We're not taught anything about life. I don't know. I didn't know what's wood shop. I mean, wood shop's even a great one when it comes to like learning a trade, but they don't even do that stuff anymore. Calculus.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to be some kind of rocket scientist or had something to do with the space program or engineering, you're not going to need calculus. Everyday man does not need it.
Yeah, we teach things that people don't really need any longer. Mm-hmm. Where some people can't. Even people who do know calculus might not even know how to write a check. That's
exactly.
even crazy about it.
Yeah, they're actually there are classes in schools right now. One of my best friends, he's a I guess he's like I forget what kind. It's not special ed teaching, but it's a little different. But what he teaches these kids. It's kind of like kids that they know, the school board knows that they aren't going to college. They're not going to do any of that stuff. So he teaches these kids what to expect the moment they graduate from high school. He
like a special resource class.
Yeah, like a resource class. No, you need to know how to do this. You need to know how to fill out resumes and applications and stuff like that. And I think it's such a great idea to have in schools. And I think every kid should know that, because even if you go to college, you're still handed a little bit of more responsibility than in high school. And you're going to need to know how to write a check. I don't know how many people really need to know how to do that anymore, though, because everything's going electronic. But you should know it.
Yeah, you should definitely know, especially like writing in cursive. That's something that's very important, especially since a lot of our stuff from back in the day is all written or has been written in cursive. That if you can't read it, then now you understand it. So
right.
That's the biggest problem, I believe. There. Yes, we're changing over electronic and print, but at the same time, things can get lost in that translation. We know that from other things in life. But one of the biggest things I think that we need to focus on is, especially with the closing costs and stuff, kids, start saving money now, because it ain't cheap when you need to use it.
Yeah, you got to save. You got to learn how to save. That's why that's not the only reason why, but why I love my wife so much is that, man, she's a penny pincher. She loves to save money, and I love to spend it. So she really keeps me in check with that stuff. So I'm happy that I have her, or else I'd be in that same boat. I'd be the same kind of person, Kim, that I wouldn't be able to afford anything like the actual like mortgage. There's two more. Roger Peacock said, how about the ongoing attempt to reverse and steal the 2016 election through scrutiny of the president's action to an unprecedented degree of never witnessed before, and of which almost every other politician is also guilty of. So basically what he's saying is that, like, once Hillary Clinton lost and Donald Trump won, the Democrats thought that they were robbed. They thought it was Hillary Clinton's turn, and now they're trying so hard to say that the illegitimacy of the election and Hillary Clinton really should have been it. So they're trying to kick Trump out because they feel like he doesn't belong there. So what gives there?
I do feel the same thing. I do believe, but it's very hard to lose. Being a winner and always, understanding that, hey, to win is, everything. To understand that sometimes you have to lose, and people who can't accept that in the end, they try to make up a reason why, and they always try to make the other team or other person seem like they did something to cheat to get to where they were. When it's not always the case. Sometimes you just lose. Sometimes It just isn't your day. But I believe that's what's happening here. I believe the loser who lost just can't accept defeat, so they're trying to find every reason. And when you go back to your room and you tell people, hey, I felt like I was cheated, you're going to have biasness that says, hey, you know what? I think you are cheated, because everybody wants to jump on a bandwagon, and some people probably accept it and some people don't.
Well, it's like my son, and it might be a generational thing, and I think it's a lot of these younger people, and I'm talking about young, like 30 and under, who are voters now. And this is, my son's a great example, and he's not 30, he's 7, but he plays Fortnite. He's obsessed with Fortnite, and he's in there and he's playing and he's trying to get number 1 and kill all these people. But whenever he gets killed, he never just got killed. It's always a hacker. Like, oh, a hacker. I'm like, getting killed doesn't mean there's a hacker. It means you suck. That's usually what I say to him. But I feel like that's what the mindset is here in America, especially for the younger voters, is that, oh, we lost. It's because someone cheated. It's like, no one cheated. You just lost.
Yeah, it's like we don't accept that, today just wasn't a great day. Today wasn't a day that, today I got outplayed. Today, I was outsmarted. Today, there's none of that anymore. It's, oh my gosh, I was cheated,
right.
Instantly.
It's ridiculous. So Roger, I don't know, man. It's a crazy political theater we're living in today. And you can look at it doom and gloom, but I think I just start laughing now because I'm like, oh my gosh, where's the camera? I must be getting punked or something. And also, one more thing before we get to our main topic, which will be the NFL and kneeling once again, which we're so excited about. I was actually, somebody pointed this to me just the other day. It's this nonprofit organization called Veterans of War Aid Foundation. And I'm just going to go over real quick what they're doing. Well, they take wounded warriors, active duty members, and they help them financially and in other ways to help them to live a more fulfilling life. This Veterans of War Aid Foundation, and now they just launched a Survivors Warrior Club, which helps victims of domestic violence affiliated with the military. They cover anything from emergency housing, childcare, legal fees. And I was looking up on this Veterans of War Aid Foundation on their website, and they're pretty legit. It's pretty cool. It's a really cool organization that's kind of like, it's not one of those Wounded Warrior foundations. So it's not this huge foundation. It's a smaller foundation. And a lot of times those foundations they seem to care because they're not looking at veterans as numbers. They're looking at them as people. So I'm going to talk to you. I think we're going to have them on, the president, Liz. We're going to have her on in the next couple of weeks to do an interview about her website and the Survivors Club. So yeah, it might be cool. I'm pretty excited.
It's going to be awesome. People, this is just going to be on the subject, but a little quick session on it, because this isn't what our podcast is about. But people out there who are giving to nonprofits, you should, like, a lot of times do investigation, because I'm not saying money isn't going to the cause, but if you're only giving 10 cents for every dollar or something like that, then you have to look at where the rest of the money is going. And I'm not saying that everything's going to them as far as for their money, as far as paying their personnel or anything like that. But a lot of nonprofits nowadays, I'm not saying they're pocketing money, but money is going places it probably shouldn't be going. So just investigate and do your stuff. There's a lot of nonprofits out there that give 100%, and there's a lot of nonprofits out there giving 80 to 90% versus that 10% or that 2%. So just like these other, when you go to Walmart and everything, and they ask help a child out, and only 2 pennies is going to every child. That's not realistic. So just investigate and get your knowledge out there and study on your nonprofits and the things you're donating to as far as charitable events.
Right, and it's a lot more prevalent than you may think. A lot of these nonprofits that are giving to these veterans and active and wounded warriors. We're not going to name any names here because that's not our place. But there definitely are some big guys that don't do what they're supposed to do. And really look that stuff up. And these smaller organizations are awesome because they I'm gonna say they still have that passion, that desire to help the warrior. So yeah, that's a great.
And they're not having to pay a lot of personnel because they're not huge companies yet. So
right.
That's the big thing, because a lot of times it is hard to find people that want to work for free to do stuff like that.
Yes. So. Very hard. So now that we got housekeeping out of the way, and we'll be talking about that stuff in greater detail in the future, let's talk about today's subject, which is the NFL.
And kneeling.
And the new season.
New season, same problems.
New season, same problems. And funny, I don't think I read anywhere that those guys that were kneeling all last season were out doing really good charitable stuff.
No, I mean, if they were, it sure definitely wasn't televised, and ESPN and all these broadcasters didn't really go out of their way to post all that kind of stuff like they will now.
Right.
That's the big thing. And I'm not saying that everybody who is kneeling and has their focus on whatever their agenda isn't doing anything. I'm not saying that in any way. I think everybody has their own everybody has a platform. I just feel if you're going to do something based on your opinion and what you want to change, then you should be doing something to change that.
Right, yeah. And so during the off season, these players, they still have to come to work. They still have stuff they have to do. And I know some of you guys, you're going to send me emails or links to what certain teams did or what certain people did. Now, they have, per their contract, they have to do a certain amount of community service every off season. So I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about the community service stuff that they're contractually required to do. I'm talking about stuff that's more than what they have to do. And I didn't see any of that. And now it's a new season, and now it seems like everyone is mad again. And there's rules that were put in place in the off season, but it doesn't seem to be happening. Do you know anything about that, Robbie?
Well, I think a lot of times, when you make a rule, the teams will be fined and players will be fined. And then the team owner says, well, I'll pay for those fines. Then you almost made it acceptable based on saying, hey, I'll pay for your fine. If you want to do this, that's perfectly fine. That's your opinion, which I understand. I understand standing up for what you believe in and doing those kind of things. But when you're losing ratings based on your agenda, and you're not even doing anything to help your agenda, then I feel like it's almost like it's almost a redundant statement where you're saying, oh, I want this, but I'm not doing this. You're not really helping the cause in any way. Like for me, if you're in off season and your thing is that, police are doing the wrong thing, well, go be a police officer during the off season.
Yeah.
Go help out. Go, volunteer to go help at the jail. Go volunteer to help at these places, so that then it looks like, hey, I'm actually trying to have a cause, not just get on camera. And a lot of these people are just getting on camera because a lot of these people, I don't even know who they are. But when they kneel and then ESPN says, oh, well, such and such kneeled over here, I'm like, I don't even know who that was, but now I know who you are. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's like the old edict that bad news is good news. Like it doesn't even matter if it's bad press, it's still good because your name's being mentioned. So you know what it reminds me of, these owners, when they say, okay, you guys can kneel and I'll pay for your fines. It reminds me of the parent that just wants to be friends with their kids. That's the worst way to parent, is to try to be friends with their kids. Like, I think that movie Mean Girls, which I never saw, but I heard that that movie Mean Girls, the mom on there was like, "Oh my gosh, you guys keep me so young. You're the best." And she was like making margaritas for everyone, and she was a joke, and she was a horrible, horrible parent. And I feel like that's what the NFL owners are doing right now. Now, I do have to say, NFL is a nonprofit organization. They have nonprofit status. Do you think that should be affected if these people, these players, continue to kneel, or should that not even factor in?
I mean, it's going to factor in either way, because people who are paying into that, if they are offended by it, then of course they're losing money. So no matter what, they're affected by it. Now, is your agenda a reason that things should be affected like that? I believe yes, because if you're a role model, especially in this situation, if you have people out there who are supposed to be role models and doing the right thing, like people are always penalized for doing drugs, people are penalized for doing this, and that's because you're a role model, So whenever we have something like this happening, and I'm not saying that you're not creating a role model for somebody to stand up for themselves or stand up for what their beliefs are. You are. But at the same time, you're taken away from the moral aspect of, hey, I'm here to play sport. Let me show you what the sport's about. Not let me show you what I feel and how I feel about it while I sit on the sideline and I don't play. So like I said, it's crazy.
There's very few things in this nation that really brings everyone together as one without any kind of partisanship at all. And I think sports is one of those things that no matter where you feel politically, if you are a Bills fan or you're a Dolphin fan or something, and you have another guy over here that's completely different than you in belief system or political beliefs or whatever, you guys can come together and cheer together for your team. That's one thing you have in common. And then all of us as football or sports fans, we can sit there and we can watch something, just escape this whole political theater. And when these guys get out there and they kneel and they make problems and stuff like that, that's not what people go and watch sports to see. We don't go watch sports to see what people's opinions are on things. We go watch sports to see touchdowns and see games won and games lost. And I think and of course then they say, well, we have to stand up for the national anthem and that's bringing politics in. I'm like, no, it doesn't. That's not bringing politics in. That's just respect for the great nation that invented a beautiful, perfect sport like football.
Well, I think when you gave the choice and you said either you stand or you stay in the locker room, but you still chose to walk it on the field and kneel, then you're almost going against what was even allowed for you. Like, it's like almost like that kid, like you say, hey, you can either stay in your room or you can go outside, but don't go to the park. But they go to the park. And then you're like, oh, well, I guess it's okay because I did tell them they could go outside,
Right,
it's almost like that. But you shouldn't – but you taking something and then pushing it to its limit and saying, well, I was going to stand, but then I got out there and I decided I wanted to kneel. That to me is like, okay, well, I guarantee you this. If we took players like this that were coming out and kneeling and said, hey, if you kneel, we're going to ask you to go back to the locker room. You're going to take off your uniform. You're not going to be paid for the game. I guarantee you after the first game, maybe 2 games not being paid, those people are going to stand because they're not there for that agenda. That's not what they're for. Colin Kaepernick was looking for a job afterwards. He wanted to be a quarterback still, even after they told him, hey, this and that. But I mean, at the same time, it wasn't – he didn't quit because he was kneeling. That ain't what stopped him from playing quarterback. What stopped him from playing quarterback was that he really got to be garbage as a quarterback. So, I mean, your stats dropped. And that your stats probably dropped because you were so focused on trying to press your agenda that you probably weren't training. You probably weren't playing as hard.
Right. What do you say about the people that are on the side of the kneelers that say that they have a constitutional right to kneel on the field? What do you say to them?
I do believe you're right. You do have a constitutional right because we are all given the freedom of speech. But the thing is, when you're in a job, I have the freedom of speech as well. But guess what? That job also has the freedom to fire me. That job has the freedom to press rules on me that, yes, if I don't like them, guess what I have to do? Quit, because that's the job. We as people are now starting to make jobs where, oh, well, you have to have this, you have to have that, and you have to have this. Well, those things, yeah, you're right. You're saying, oh, well, I got to hire these many people or that many people. I got to pay this and I got to pay that. But then the job, if it can't pay for what you're saying I have to pay you, then of course my business is going to close.
Right.
Like, but if people want to come work for me and they don't mind working for $6, why is it a big deal?
Right. Right. Yeah. That's what people fail to understand, or they understand it, but they refuse to budge, is that freedom of speech does not pertain to in your workspace. You sign a contract to be at work. And just because we're at home or we're in the stands watching football and we're not working doesn't mean that they're not working. That's their office. That field is their office. And I know you and I know I could not go into our jobs when we had them. We could not go into our jobs and say whatever we wanted to whoever we wanted and do whatever we wanted. I mean, being in the military, we would have been arrested. They would have thrown the book at us. But that's just how it is. In the office, you can't do stuff like that. Yeah, you have freedom of speech outside the office. If these guys want to, not kneel and all that stuff, then go out into the parking lot afterwards and start doing their whole, stuff. They can do that. But you are in a job. You have a boss. These are your rules. If you break the rules, you get fired. Why
well,
can't
look at it like this. Like whenever the players have press conferences, well, Gatorade's they're one of their sponsors. And guess what? They have a Gatorade bottle right there on the press conference table.
Right.
If they walk out there with another bottle, they get a fine. And they have to pay it.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter if they go out there and they throw the Gatorade bottle off. They're going to get a fine.
Right.
Like there's things you can't wear because that's in the rules. There's rules to follow. And if you can't follow those rules, then there has to come a time whenever that general, that manager, that owner has to come to a conclusion and say, you know what, this person just isn't going to follow the rules. We have to get rid of them.
Right.
I mean, it's not taking away how you feel. I mean, if you don't feel like following the rules, don't go sit in front of the press conference. If you don't feel like following the rules, they said stay in the locker room. We give you the outlet. But the thing is, people always want to push their limits. People always feel like, oh, I'm going to make something. What's crazy is a lot of the people that are kneeling now are people who really are nobodies. Like you're only hearing their name because, oh, they're doing this. Let's post it. Let's show it. And then for ESPN, they come out and say, well, you know what we're going to do? We're just not going to show it anymore. We just won't show it at all. And then everybody won't be offended. But guess what? When the Super Bowl comes and all those things come, and that's what people watch, in my house, I stand at the national anthem a lot of times when they're playing.
Yeah.
That's how I am. I'm an athlete, and I've always been that type of person. And I want my kids to understand. And I'm not saying my kids stand every single time because they're running around too, but I'll make them stop.
Right.
Like they might not understand the situation or all the stuff, but I'm like, hey, this is something that, people have literally sacrificed their lives for. And I take off my hat. If I'm in my vehicle, I take off my hat. Like it's just a sign of respect. And that's how I was taught to do it. And I'm not saying everybody's taught that way, but a lot of times we're teaching our kids like, oh, the national anthem is bad now or this or that. And it's not. That's not how it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And, I've been seeing this a lot on social media, and I want to get your opinion on it before I comment on it. There's a lot of people that say that if you're against the kneeling, against these players kneeling for the national anthem, that you're racist. What's your opinion on people saying that? Because I've seen it a lot, actually.
Well, I don't think really kneeling has anything to do with the race. Their agenda, it don't matter whose agenda, whatever their agenda is. People are going out there for different reasons, but to say, oh, you're just racist based on, because somebody's kneeling. Yes. I'm not majority of the people who kneel. Yes. Sorry. They are colored color. So it is hard for me to say, oh, well, I just don't support that agenda. And then it be a person of color and then be like, oh, well, you must be racist. No, I'm not racist at all. I just don't think that's an outlet for that. I'm not saying don't stand up for what you believe. There was a time when in track and field, fists were raised and it showed that, hey, we're here to show that we can do this and we're going to dominate you and this and that. And that's fine. I wasn't against that. Like stand up for what you believe, because yes, there are some times whenever people are pushed out of a platform, but this isn't one of them.
Right.
This is not one of them.
Yeah, it's to me, I feel like that's when there's no other argument to make, when whoever is arguing with someone, if they feel cornered, the last ditch effort is just to say you're a racist. And I hate that, because that really there's actual racism in this world. There's a lot of people that hate other people for their color, skin color, or whatever, and to call somebody a racist for just any issue really kind of downgrades that term racist. It's like, if you're going to call me a Nazi every time I say something that you disagree with, like, you obviously don't know anything about Nazis, number one. Number two, that word just becomes so desensitizing because everyone's heard it before. It's not a bad word anymore. And that's what really ticks me off about this whole racist thing. And I actually tried to discuss this with somebody, saying that there are white people and Hispanic people and other people that are actually kneeling, as well as African Americans kneeling for these anthems. And I don't agree with any of them doing it. I think that it's just a show of respect to this country to be that way and to stand for the national anthem. And that's what really ticks me off about this is calling race. But nobody wants to, when you're arguing or discussing that with people, they don't want to hear it. They're just like, no, you're racist for saying that, for not allowing them to kneel. I'm like, what?
And there's a lot of players of all different mixed races and colors and everything else that literally will say, they stand because they're proud of America. They're proud of what was given to them. And that's the thing. This isn't a thing that, you go out and say, you know what, I'm not going to do this because of police brutality, or because, I'm against immigration rule, or whatever. I'm against the president. If you're going out there, the people who are standing beside you are thankful for what they were given by this country,
right,
and from this country. And that's one thing that I don't understand. You going out there and changing the agenda of what it's representing. I know this, in another country, they would never not play the national anthem.
Right.
I've never been to an event where they were like, I'm sorry, we just don't play our national anthem because it's offensive. Like, in a lot of other countries, you can't throw their flag on the ground. Like, that would probably get you killed in some countries. Like, that is disrespect amongst the most. I mean, and then to know, like, a lot of these people have had grandfathers and family members that have served. And I don't understand when your grandfather, or, your uncle or brother, even stuff like that, I don't see them saying, this is okay, and I understand it. And not saying that they're completely against you for it, because I'm sure, we as Americans have fought so that people can have freedom of speech and have their constitutional rights. And that's one thing that we do. But I don't understand how it's one of them things. Like, if I seen somebody throw a flag on the ground, I would be so offended. And I would question myself, like, why? Why are you even here? What's your purpose?
Right. Yeah. So if there were, let's say there's a fan or a group of fans out in the stands, and all the players stood, they did everything they're supposed to do, but the fans, like, let's say 200 fans, decided to take a knee in the stadium during the anthem. Would you consider that as offensive as players doing it, or is it just one of those things that's like, no, if you want to do it, you can do it, but don't do it at your work. Just show respect.
Well, first off, I'd still find it offensive, because I know the news would still broadcast it, even though it's not really needed.
Right.
It's just like everything else. When stuff is pushed out there and it's showing, I think being in a position where you're a role model, like as a player is, and thousands and possibly, hundreds and hundreds of thousands are watching you and learning from you, because a lot of people don't have father figures. So they're watching, Michael Jordan's, LeBron James's, and those kind of people. Those are people they idolize and look up to. And when you're looking at your favorite player and he's kneeling there, and then you go to school and do it, but you don't have a reason or a cause behind it, and you're just like, well, I'm just being like such and such, then you've taught something that actually isn't being expressed in any other way. That kid doesn't understand why you're doing it. He's just doing it. And that's the one thing. If you're going to come out and you're going to do it and make a change, and you go out and you say, you know what, I'm making a change. I'm going to show my difference. I'm going to, everybody who's looking up to me, I want them to understand why I'm doing this.
Right.
Then I can understand that, hey, you know what, this person is making a change and he's trying to influence the other generations that, hey, you know what, this is a problem. Let me explain why. You know, and let me try to show you how to fix it if you can fix it. You know, the park don't get cleaned up if nobody goes clean it up.
Right.
So if the park if you're out there throwing trash in and you just keep throwing trash in it, but then saying, oh, I have a cause for the trash, but you keep throwing it in there, it's not fixing anything. That's the same thing that's happening right now. It's not fixing anything if people just go out and take a knee. It's not fixing nothing. But if you're going to go out there and you're going to do it, and then you go home and you say, you know what, during my off season, I'm going to dedicate my time. I'm going to go out. I'm going to give more money to police departments so they can get more people, you know, and better training if that's the case, whatever it may be.
Right.
Put your money where your mouth is if that's what you got, or put your ability where it is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely such a polarizing topic and an issue. And I wish that it wasn't an issue because, you know, there's other ways to do this. There's other ways to protest without kneeling, you know, with the national anthem. What they should do is these players that feel this way when they score a touchdown, you know, they have a right. They have a right to do whatever they want to do, and after, you know, when they scored a touchdown, take a knee then, or do something.
But you know what I haven't seen? I haven't seen a player catch a football on a wide open run and just kneel and just stop and say, you know what, this isn't it. No, he's looking for a paycheck.
Yeah,
he's going to get that touchdown to get that extra money.
So what do you think? What do you think the percentage of those kneeling actually believe in what they're kneeling for?
Oh man, it's hard to say. I can't really give you a percentage because, you know, I can't even really give you an exact number of everybody kneeling.
There's no way of knowing, but
there's no real way of knowing. But I mean, I think I will say this. I do believe there are athletes out there who are actually putting their money where their mouth is. Like, I'm a big fan of Tiki Barber. For the longest time, I know people who, like, I think families that came from domestic violence and single mothers. Like, he buys a house for so many mothers a year. And I think that's amazing. Like, for families and stuff like that, for somebody to go out and put their money where their mouth is and actually do it. But you don't hear a lot of them in the news. You don't hear about a lot of that kind of stuff. You know, LeBron James opening a school that I'm not saying, like, I think that's a class act. I think you're trying to help your community. I think you're doing something great. And that's something that, you know, and I'm not saying, you know, that politics shouldn't be in sports. I'm not saying that at all, you know. But at the same time, I believe that if you're going to do something, at least represent it well and don't just say it. Don't just go out and be like, oh, here's what my cause is. I want to keep straws at Starbucks, so guess what I'm going to do? You know, I'm going to bring a whole bunch of straws out here of Starbucks straws that I've collected over the years, and I'm going to hold them up every time that I'm on the football field. No, it ain't going to do nothing. Like, you're not putting your money
That's
there.
a cause I can get behind.
Please, Starbucks, keep plastic straws.
Please.
It really isn't. It isn't helping you getting rid of it. You're cutting more trees down. So.
It's a difficult situation. I think that it's hurting. Honestly, I think it's hurting the country socially. What NFL players are doing. I think it's hurting the children, like you were saying, because they don't know the reason behind it. Like, I remember when I was in third grade, I drank Diet Pepsi for a whole year because Joe Montana was in a commercial drinking Diet Pepsi. And I hate Diet Pepsi, but he did it. So I understand. Children are very impressionable when it comes to that stuff. So I think it hurts the children. I think it hurts the sport of football. And, you know, NFL ratings, NFL ratings have just tanked. They've tanked. The NFL channel, the channel that they have, Sunday Ticket, that's basically crashed because no one wants to deal with it anymore.
We're in a position, too, where you see the NFL almost creates things so people come and watch it. Like, when they were trying to change the Redskins and the Chiefs things, it's like, is it really that big of a deal that you have to make it literally worldwide? You know, is having an emblem. I mean, we had the Buffalo nickel had an Indian head on it. Like, we've had, you know, money with presidents that we say, hey, probably shouldn't have been on that bill. But we're not out trying to change every single thing, But we're in a world right now where it seems like everything is against somebody or something. So let's change this, let's change that, let's change this, let's change that. We can't change everything because it just isn't possible.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason. Like, there's really no reason. I mean, how offensive is the Redskins thing, really, truthfully? Let's be real.
Well, it was meant as an homage, like an honor towards the Native American people and their warrior spirit.
It made no sense. It's like, but then somebody randomly said, hey, I'm offended by this. And it was like, it was pushed. It was pushed on Monday Night Football. It was pushed on ESPN. Everybody was pushing this agenda. Like, oh man, this is such a big deal. But then even some of the Native American people were saying, this isn't offensive. I don't really take it as offensive.
Yeah, the majority of them that were interviewed weren't offended at all. I mean, Florida State Seminoles, who I hate dearly, but their mascot is Chief Osceola, and he rides out there. It's a white guy. A white guy rides out there in war paint with a horse, and he goes out and he does his whole thing. And the Seminole people feel honored that Chief Osceola is being honored. They're not offended at all, which is it's like, come on, guys.
And that's one of the biggest things, I think, when we look at all these things. It's like everybody has a reason for something. I think a lot of the times, my kids, and not even just my kids, I think kids around the world are looking at, a lot of the players kneeling and saying to them, well, this person think, racism has been brought into it and everything else. So instantly, if a white kid says, well, I don't understand, I don't like why they're kneeling. And then somebody says, oh, well, you're racist. Well, that kid might not even know what racism really is because it's just never been taught to him.
Right.
Like, I don't teach my kids about racism. Like, I don't sit there and say, hey, guys, guess what? You can't go do this. You can't go do that. No. I teach my kids the proper way, things that I know that people are offended by, that, hey, this is something we just don't say, I understand It says it in music. You might say it in TV shows. Just things, this is not, we don't say that. And this is the reason, And but when the rest of the world says, a lot of people say, oh, it's okay to say that. It's hard for me to explain to my kids why it's okay for some and not for others.
Right. And also, your child, if your child or a child gets called racist, they don't know what it is. They don't know it's negative. Now all of a sudden they're bullied. They're feeling bullied into being okay with X, Y, or Z.
Which could possibly make them turn into a racist eventually.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Yeah,
who knows?
Who was it? I think it was Denzel Washington. They talked to Denzel Washington about race, and he said, you know how to stop racism, right? And the media person, the reporter, interviewer was like, how? He's like, stop talking about it.
Yeah,
quit talking about it. It's because of you guys. It exists as bad as it does today because you guys will not stop talking about it.
If I take my 1-year-old son to a park who has never experienced anything to do with race, and I've never brought him up that way, and let him go on a playground with people, anybody of color, it doesn't matter. It ain't got to be, it can be blacks, it can be Native Americans, it can be Mexicans. It doesn't matter.
Right.
My son is not going to see any of that. He's going to go and play with them. If they have a ball, they're going to throw the ball. If they're playing on the playground, he's going to go play on the playground. If they want to pick up dirt and throw it at each other, go pick up dirt and throw it at each other and laugh about it.
Right. Yeah. When I was a kid, all through, preschool, elementary school, to me, racism didn't exist. I had no idea what it was. I played with whoever I could growing up in Miami, and we're very diverse there. It was when I got into junior high where all of a sudden everything was about race. It was like, it was black kids going and beating up the white kids and stuff. It was one of the most racially charged times I've ever been in. That was in the 90s in Miami. And I remember looking around thinking to myself, what's going on? Why do you hate me so much? I just want to play football with you guys. So it's weird. There comes a point in people's lives where all of a sudden racism just starts. And I don't know, is it because of what the children are witnessing at home or what the different kind of TV shows they're watching or what, but all of a sudden I felt like junior high, boom, all of a sudden racism everywhere.
Well, I think at the same time, like definitely since we're on the kneeling topic, when all we're hearing about is a lot of people are kneeling against police brutality. Well, then a lot of kids are instantly saying, "Oh, I hate cops because of this," or "I hate that."
Right.
When a kid doesn't even understand, they don't really even know. It's just like, if we're gonna get, I'm gonna give an analogy. If I had an older son and my older son went out and was selling drugs, decided to try to pull a gun on a cop or whatever, or fight a cop or whatever, and got killed, I'm not going to raise my other kids up to say, hey, you know what? Cops are bad people. I want my kids to understand that your brother made a mistake. And with that mistake, it cost him his life.
Right.
It wasn't based on that cop. I'm not saying cops aren't bad. And I'm not saying the situation that the cop couldn't have been, that my son couldn't have been in a situation where the cop was bad. But if it was, then I just want to say, hey, you know what? Not all cops are bad. But the situation that my son was in ended up being bad for him. Whether that was a bad cop, whether my son did something wrong, it was a situation. It wasn't a person. That situation and that person either made an error or mistake, which either cost a life or cost two people's lives.
Yeah, it's like it's like okay, yeah, there's bad apples in every bunch. There's bad apples everywhere, no matter what profession you're in. You're even seeing that in the Catholic Church, where there's pedophilia all over the place. But there's the same way in public school systems too. I think it's like something like 12 times more children get sexually assaulted or molested in public schools than in the Catholic.
But you just hear about it more on TV.
Right. But if your child is in a shooting and you're shot by a cop and he turns out to be a bad cop, guess what? I don't say all cops are bad. I said that one police officer was bad. He was bad, but the majority of them are okay. So yeah, I hear you there, and it's very frustrating. And I think the media has a lot to do with of course they drive the narrative, and they're driving us to eat our own young. You know what I mean? It's like we're all trying to kill each other because they're telling us, hey, you guys have to kill each other.
Well, I remember growing up, when I was young, I would see there would be career day, and a cop would come in and he would talk to us, and there would be kids instantly like, man, I can't wait to grow up to be a police officer. I can't wait to do those kind of things. It's like, I know that isn't done very often anymore. I'm not sure why. But at the same time, it's like where you had that kind of situation where kids wanted to be something, you're almost pushing them away from wanting to be that now. And it's like, I'm not sure why the push is there for that, but it's like, I believe police officers, firefighters, military people are people who put their lives on the line that most people wouldn't do. I mean, it's a job that, you're going into an area knowing that you might not come home today or tomorrow. So it is one of the big misconceptions, I think, that when we look at it, you never really need them till you need them kind of thing.
Right, of course.
And a lot of people are like, hey, you know what? We don't really need those people. And we do, because you only need them when you need them. And you know what? You never know when you need them. So it's one of them things I think we should be influencing our kids that, hey, you know what? You should want to grow up to be a firefighter or a police officer. We always tell our kids to grow up to be doctors and lawyers, and it's amazing. But lawyers are so minute now that I've even seen lawyers. There's so many of them that they don't make the money like people used to.
Oh yeah.
That they're having to have 2 or 3 jobs to even pay their bills.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. I would never tell my kids nowadays that, hey, you should grow up to be a lawyer.
Well, people don't want to serve anymore.
Yeah,
they don't want to serve. Where's the public service? That's what's frustrating about it. I watch Live PD every Friday and Saturday night from 8 to 11, and I love Live PD. And there's one police officer. He's not in this season, but he actually got promoted. His name was Kevin Lawrence from Richland County, South Carolina. And he's this big black guy, right? And he would always get approached when he's, patting someone down, arresting somebody. The community comes around and starts yelling at him because, oh, he didn't do nothing, police brutality, man, you guys are better. And they're starting to just cuss him out. And Kevin Lawrence would just turn to him and say, hey, we're hiring. We are hiring.
Yeah.
And it's true. It's like if you think the system is corrupt and jacked up and you're so against the system, change it. Do your part. Go in and get the training and get, there's a lot of things that out of context, it doesn't make sense in the police force. But if you look at it in context, as far as what they're supposed to do, the steps they have to take for every single arrest or detaining, it's like in context, it all makes sense. But what people are seeing. They just go in right in the middle of it, and they're like, "Whoa, wait, what you're doing is bad," and stuff like that. So it's very frustrating, and I love it when he says that. He's
like I said, I would appreciate the NFL and even the people kneeling if they were actually doing something to change
right
the way things are working. But when you're going around and you're basically kneeling but not changing something,
right,
then you're not helping the system in any way. So that's one of the biggest things I think. That and your influence that you have on others isn't, people watch you, so people know.
yeah, big time.
I might not live in Ohio, and you're from the Browns or whatever, and you're kneeling, and I might not know what you're doing, but somebody there knows. There's people there that know that you're not doing whatever you're trying to protest for.
Right. Yeah. No, you're right. It's crazy, man. I hope that it doesn't go all season. I hope they're kind of like, okay, my knees hurt, but
I'm more, like I said, I'm more upset with. I'm almost upset with ESPN for the simple fact that your way to fix this is to completely eradicate the national anthem from television. I don't think that was the way to go about it, but I mean, I guess if we're going to have still the problems, but people still know what's going on, so are people just going to jump on and watch it again? Who knows? I don't know.
right.
I've always been a fan of football and never thought I would not watch it or care about it like I do now. I'd rather watch college football anyway.
That's yeah. College football's where it's at, man. There's a lot of passion in it.
Yeah, and I think these new football programs that are coming up are gonna, the NFL is gonna be worried about that. And they're gonna be trying to fix stuff really fast.
Oh yeah, I'll watch those other businesses, those other leagues.
Yeah. Well, then you don't have people, millionaires going out and playing, but not playing because I already got my big paycheck, this and that. So if I don't go and play and I get hurt during the season, I'm still getting paid. I think that is outlandish.
Yeah.
Like, you should get paid per game, and I don't think it really should be millions, but that's on the owners, and that's what they decided. But I mean, if you can't play, I don't think you should be paid.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that really.
Sorry, you got hurt. We'll pay for your medical bills. There you go.
Yeah, no, you got a point.
So,
well, you want to do some strange news?
Strange news.
Strange news. Now, this one I didn't have to look very far. This is just strange, man, and I'm embarrassed that this is from Florida, Miami, my town. And the headline is: Florida candidate for Congress says alien abduction doesn't define me. All right. Yeah. GOP candidate Rodriguez Aguilera says she was taken aboard a spaceship as a young girl by blonde extraterrestrials who resembled the Christ the Redeemer statue in Rio de Janeiro. She says they told her that the center of the world's energy is Africa and that thousands of non-human skulls were once discovered in a cave on the Mediterranean island of Malta. She has said she witnessed paranormal activity since then and saw a UFO at age 17. She also said she's been in touch with the aliens telepathically longer after the abduction. Now, this is somebody running for, let's see, U.S. House of Candidates. U.S. House. So she's running for the House. And the Miami Herald just endorsed her as a GOP candidate. So what is going on here? Number one, let's just say Miami Herald endorsed her as a GOP candidate. Now, the Miami Herald is such a left-wing paper. They are far, far left-wing. So I understand why they're endorsing her, because they want Republicans to vote for her. So, that the real Republican gets all jacked up. But then she was like, man, I'm so honored that Miami Herald endorsed me. And I just want you guys to know that my alien abduction doesn't define who I am. Yeah. What is the matter with you? Number one, what? Why would you even say stuff like that if you're running for Congress?
I mean, it does define you. You're very odd. First off. I mean, you probably lost a few votes, but at the same time, you're placed in a category where very few people believe. So,
I mean, like, who are you? Like, I don't know what you feel about aliens and whether you think extraterrestrials exist, if there's possible life on other planets, here, there, the other. Now, that's a whole.
I do believe. First off, I do believe there possibly could be other beings living on other planets. Now, I don't think they fly to Earth to study us. I think if they got this far to study anything, they're probably already more intelligent than us.
Yeah.
So,
what does Joe Rogan say? And I think I might have said this to you before. Joe Rogan said this in one of his stand-ups. He says that the planet Earth is the Tijuana of the universe. He said that if there are aliens out there, they come here to see the donkey doing the girl. Yeah, I mean, no matter how you feel about aliens, alien abductions, and stuff like that, if there's a possibility that you're going to run for any kind of branch in government, you may want to not talk about it, like, ever. Especially if you say they're blonde extraterrestrials that look like the Jesus, the Redeemer in Brazil. You know which one that is, right? He's up in the mountain. He's standing like this. Like, what do? All a bunch of them, they're walking around with their arms out. Like, what?
It's very odd.
Yeah, so that's pretty strange.
I'm actually going to give some strange news today too, Brett.
Really? Oh, yes, I'm excited.
I have some strange news, okay?
News. Nice.
So, police made an astonishing discovery this morning. Well, it wasn't this morning. It was actually a few days ago. But this morning, while executing a search warrant at a residence of a Bloomington mortician, they found 218 embalmed human penises. Authorities suspected 54-year-old Paul Houston, an employee of McLean County Coroner's Office, or McLean County Coroner's Offices, of being implicated in an organ trafficking network. Investigation showed several reports of missing organs and body parts. Dozens of police raided his residence this Monday morning, hoping to find evidence of his involvement in the crimes. There were shelves everywhere, filled with hundreds of glass jars, each of them containing a penis floating in formula. According to Ramirez, the accused rapidly confessed everything as soon as he was arrested. He explained in great detail how he would be cutting off dead men's genital organs and collecting them for more than 10 years.
Why didn't he collect stamps?
He's a very odd person. He wore like eyeliner all around his eyes. He's kind of like, let me show you this. Let me see if I can get a bigger picture. If not, I'm just going to zoom in on it on my phone so I can show you.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. I mean, he looks pretty crazy already.
He looks like an 80-year-old Chucky doll.
A lot bigger though.
An overweight.
And he collects things. Chucky, I didn't collect nothing, but
I wonder if he collect anything else. Like, what? Why penises? Well, I understand why penises, because he probably really likes penises, but like, why?
Well, I think one of the biggest questions was he using them for his own pleasure? Like, that was one of the biggest things they were kind of trying to figure out.
You can't sell embalmed penises to be like put on other people, right? You can't, or can you?
Well, once it's embalmed, I don't think you could.
Yeah, I don't think you can.
Once it's embalmed, it's like all the stuff's taken out. It's filled with fluid that's,
oh my gosh,
I'm sure the body can't ever be connected to the body again.
This world is.
But he was collecting them for 10 years. That's how crazy this is. Nobody noticed.
That is one crazy hoarder.
Yes. Now that is some strange news.
That is, you know what? You are king of the day, my friend. That is probably the worst strange news I've ever. Like, that made me kind of queasy inside just thinking of 200 penises in a house in drawers.
Like,
I couldn't. Yeah, I mean, I could think of other body parts I'd rather collect if I was going to collect body parts, like ears. How cool would that be, collecting ears? At least that way you're like, oh man, that guy, he's a warrior, man. He's crazy. Don't mess with him. But if you go to jail for collecting penises,
I mean, you're going to be known as a warrior too. A penis warrior, okay?
Penis warrior. Oh, penis patriot. Wow, that is some very strange news, and I thank you so much for ruining my night.
You're welcome.
Well, I guess that's it for Arm and a Leg and Other Opinions We Like to Give podcast for this week. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Just to let you know, we have a YouTube account, so go on Arm and a Leg podcast. Go ahead and subscribe and click that notification button. So when we do get videos, we can. Oh, that's pretty loud. So when we do get put out videos, you guys get notifications right away that the videos came out. So go ahead and do that.
Also, we'll be posting some links about the nonprofit organization that we talked about today. So if you can go on there and check into that, and maybe if you'd like to donate or give back to a nonprofit, this is your opportunity. Also, go ahead and leave us a few comments. Brett will probably post sometime this week, so you can make some comments on what you'd like to hear on our next show. Also, just go out there, be happy, never give up, and smile.
And stay away from the embalmed penises. All right, I'm Brett Parks. Thank you so much.
And this is your boy, Robbie Gaupp.
And we are out of here.